Hi there, and welcome to today's video. Just to introduce myself in case you're new to my daily videos, I'm Steve Clark. I'm a Methodist minister currently living in the village of Glenfield, which is in Leicestershire, and I'm within the Methodist circuit known as Leicester West. During these recent weeks when we've been having lockdown and not able to go out, I've been posting a regular, at the moment, daily video on my YouTube channel. And in the past few days, me and my wife Sue have been chatting about our reflections on life in the ministry in the different places we've served. And yesterday we talked about our first experience of circuit ministry, which was in the Burslem circuit in Stoke-on-Trent. And here's a quick quiz question for you. Can you name the 6 towns that make up the city of Stoke-on-Trent? William and Linda, if you're watching, you should be able to get this, but I don't know whether anybody else will, unless you're well familiar with the Potteries. So that's one to think about. Don't look at Google until you've exhausted your memory banks. Anyway, yesterday Sue mentioned a wonderful guy called Norman Amos. And I remember that first time we went as a young family to look round the 5 churches that I was going to be minister of. We went into this church in Norton, and there was on the left-hand side the organ, and as we were walking around chatting with one or two folk, out popped this head from behind the organ, and it was Norman. He was fixing the organ, and he was he would do anything. He was such a servant-hearted man. And Sue talked yesterday about how Norman was leader of the Boys Brigade, and how he showed such love and patience to those young lads off the council estate. And when I posted yesterday's video about our time there, somebody called Paul Welsh. Paul is a Methodist minister, and Paul was reflecting on how grateful he was for the love and care that he was shown as a young lad on that council estate, and how that impacted his life. He came to faith, and now a Methodist minister. And I mentioned also another guy called Gary Dawson-Jones, and how I married Gary and Dawn while we're at Norton. Now, Gary was another of those lads off the council estate who Norman nurtured and cared for and loved. And that's just a wonderful reminder that sometimes when we're trying to nurture young people, or anybody really, and sometimes it seems a struggle, we don't know what's happening, what's going in, are they taking anything in, are they actually learning, are they concentrating, are they listening? It's that constant love for these youngsters, or for whoever, constantly loving them, being patient with them, helping them to learn the things of God. And there's just 2 examples of young lads who Norman nurtured, and others in the church, and they became church leaders. Gary's an Anglican minister. There's a guy called Chris Steele. He was another of those lads. He became a local preacher and a man of God. And so that influence that people like Norman had. When he introduced himself, he used to say, "I'm Norman Amos, a minor prophet, but I see him as," he's not alive any longer, but I see him as a great man of God, and I learnt so much from him. Such a humble servant of God. Another guy I want to talk to you briefly about is a man called John Thomason. Now, the first time I met John was when I was asked to take a funeral of a lady who died, and it happened to be John's mother. And I went round to see John, who lived in the village, and knocked on his door, and the door opened slightly, a little crack appeared, and his face peering out, and he was, at first sight, quite a strange guy. In fact, he was a strong atheist. He didn't believe in prayer and all that stuff. He was a schizophrenic. He had mental health issues. But I took his mum's funeral. I got to know John. I visited him, and his attitude towards church and the things of God began to soften. And lo and behold, he got involved in church. He started coming along, not only on Sunday but to other events. And he experienced a radical change in his life. And he became so different. And he used to love that hymn, "Dear Lord and Father of Mankind," which has those words, "Reclothe me in my rightful mind. And that's what John experienced. He didn't have great social skills. He used to come round to the manse regularly. It didn't matter whether we had visitors or the kids were doing something. He used to come and plonk himself on the settee. After a while he came, and every day he loved to come and wash our dishes. That was in the days before dishwasher. And so that was part of John's therapy, really, I suppose, sitting with people. He, if we had two visitors, he would come and plonk himself right in the middle of them or whatever. He didn't have great social skills, but he did experience a real transformation in his life. And that's just two of the people I remember from those days. And such great memories. And I feel so privileged of having known over the years so many people that influenced my life, and hopefully I gave a bit in return. So I thought we'd have a little extra, just reflecting on a couple of people from our Stoke days. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how God led us from Stoke after 5 years to Sheffield. That's a miraculous, a wonderful story in itself, and how we faced both joys and struggles there. So God bless you. Have a fantastic day.